time I roll through LA, Hollywood, San Diego, Oceanside, I get nothing but love from the people. I tell you this to tell you Cali like a second home to me. I always have a... Welcome, gentlemen, to the Monkman, Marl Kalone. I am your host, the Monkman, and today we will be talking about the new movie Captain Marvel and the feminism falsehood that surrounds this movie. The same type of falsehood that has surrounded movies in the past, like the female-only Ghostbusters reboot, and there's a number of other movies that have also, over the years, had the same type of situation. But for today's purpose, we'll be talking about Captain Marvel and its release over the weekend. Now, the movie financially seems to have done pretty well over the weekend. It had a strong first weekend release, but it's the same type of propaganda we saw surrounding Wonder Woman, where the feminists and all of the outlets that push and promote feminist propaganda have come out and they're making it out like this is the biggest movie release that's ever come down the pipeline next to Avatar or Titanic, you know. They're saying that it shattered all kinds of box office records and all kinds of international records and things like that. You know, sure, the movie has done, fairly well throughout the world over the weekend, and what it's done has placed it, somewhere in the top 5 comic book releases internationally of all time. Now, that sounds great on paper and everything, but to be honest with you, the more of these movies that release, the more box office records in that category are being broken all the time. So it's not something that's truly out of the ordinary. And it's not an extraordinary push, but the feminists and the propaganda machine that wants to, push this down our throats has made it out as though this movie is just like a worldwide phenomenon. Now, I'll be the first to tell you, I'm not a big comic book movie fan, especially of Marvel. Marvel is not my forte or taste. I've always been a DC guy. I love the Batman movies. So Marvel is not something I know every detail about, and I certainly don't know every detail about the comic book aspect of Marvel. But I've done some research on this, and apparently the way that the media has portrayed it, there was a trolling campaign before this movie released to give it a horrible score on Rotten Tomatoes. So Rotten Tomatoes has come out and they have changed the rules and the way that they allow users to review movies based on Captain Marvel. Now, this isn't the first time that movies have received bad reviews before they've even released. We've had this happen on Star Wars films. We've had it certainly happened on the female Ghostbusters movie. And it's happened on a number of other films. Why they chose to finally do it on Captain Marvel, one must suspect that, again, it was this propaganda machine that they wanted to cram this movie down our throats. And the fact that it had so much negative publicity before it even released, and the audience score for it was terrible before it released, they couldn't have that. That wouldn't fit their agenda. So they removed a whole bunch of scores. They've changed the way they do their scores now for the audience. They make them actually wait until the movie has been released before they can give it a score. So knowing that the Rotten Tomatoes website has corrected that for this movie, I wanted to jump on and see what the current score of this movie was. Now, it has an 80% rating with reviewers, film reviewers, film critics, things of that nature. That's not that great of a score, to be honest with you. The scores have certainly been higher for a lot of films, and I think the Black Panther was substantially higher. Number of other films, comic book films, have also been higher. What's important on this to note is the audience score. Now that all of those pre-releases have been removed because they said it was trolling, looking at it now, there's 54,000 reviews and it's only got a 58%. Now think about that. 58% is good, good enough if you're in school for a D rating. That's a horrible score. It really is. This movie is not as great as the Disney and the Marvel machine would like us to believe. And I don't think that it's going to have the legs that a bunch of these other comic book movies have had. Specifically, the most recent one would be Aquaman. So, keeping that in mind, I decided to also do a little more research to find out why people were trolling this movie previous to its release. And there's a number of reasons why. The first reason being that the original Captain Marvel was a man. Now, like I said, I'm not a Marvel expert and I don't read the comics of Marvel, but the original Captain Marvel was a man, and apparently this was changed around, 1976 or something. At any rate, it does have some history with a woman as the character, but the majority of history for this character has been a man. So we know how many of these characters in all different types of movies today, they're being changed. The Ghostbusters were changed to women. There's talk of changing James Bond potentially to a woman. Then the comic book movies, there's been multiple instances of characters being changed to women when in fact they originally weren't. There's a whole bunch of other films and stories where the characters' sex has been changed or their ethnicity has been changed, and people are kind of getting tired of that. So that's one reason why I believe this movie may have been, trolled, as they say. The second reason is the lead actor that plays Captain Marvel, Brie Larson. She had some comments recently, and basically she said that she doesn't want the media that does the interviews to be dominated by white men. So she had some comments, of course, against white men. There's more to it, perhaps, but in short, she was knocking men again. And that's kind of funny considering the original Captain Marvel was a male role and she was given, this prestigious opportunity, a very lucrative opportunity to play this character. And if the movie does well, there will be sequels and she'll make big paychecks. But instead, she decided to knock them in doing the interviews. So that potentially is another reason why this movie has been trolled. But more importantly, if you look at, like I said earlier, the reviews of the film itself from the audience, they don't seem that interested in this film. when you're only getting a 58% from exit audiences, that's not a great score. For all the hype machine, for all the money put into this movie, for all the advertising, for all the pushing of the feminist propaganda down everyone's throats, a 58% really is a poor showing. So, I still think this movie will probably make money, and I judge a movie on its merits for myself, So, I have not seen the movie yet. Frankly, I won't pay to go see it. But I will watch the movie at some point and judge it on its own merits. If the movie is good, I will say it's good, but it doesn't look very promising at this point when you've got 58% of people saying the movie is good. That's a D. That's a D grade. It's not great. Only 80% from the critics. When you see a lot of these critically acclaimed movies, those usually up in the 90s and sometimes into the high 90s. So this movie, it's another feminist, another fraudulent feminist push to cram these things down our throat and make us believe that a woman could be the most powerful superhero in the universe. Because according to the things that I've read, Captain Marvel is supposed to be the most powerful of all the Marvel superheroes. Again, it's a comic book movie, so you have to take it with a grain of salt. But this is just another example of the fraudulent feminist propaganda that they continue to shove down society's throat and push on all of us. Let me know your thoughts. If you've seen the movie, leave it in the comments. Let us know if you liked it, if you didn't like it. But I just think it's interesting that there's so much hype when these female-led movies make, I don't know, I guess you would say a decent amount of money, but it's nothing world-changing. But the hype machine pushes it as though this is the biggest movie to ever come down the pipeline. And they do that because that's the only way they can sell this bullshit to the public. Let me know your thoughts. If you like the movie, like I said, let me know. Put it in the comments. If you didn't, let me know that too. Let me know what you think of Captain Marvel being a woman. And we'll catch you gentlemen on the next Monkman. And in the meantime, stay the fuck red-pilled gentlemen.
As I head into the center, cruising toward Cali cause I wanna be a beach bum. Got thoughts of me living like a nomad, a grass shack from my oceanside pad. Daydreaming as the wind blows through my head. Got the world in my hands, so I'm living without a care. Hit 100 girlfriends dead. She seen Sean Keith said, baby, take me there. Game time, I do my damage to a blocker. Cops try to stop her, but they won't recognize her. This is classic like Phantom of the Opera. That's right. All my mind says, fucking you coppers. You may try, but no, you can't stop us. I said, hey, no, you can't stop us. Stop us.